Good day, everyone. This is Anna, and I am going to talk about verb, word order, and sentence structure. Let's go ahead and talk about verbs. What are verbs? A verb is a word that expresses a physical action, mental action, and state of being. You might find it useful to think of verbs as doing words. Let's have an example of verbs expressing physical action. She sells fruits and vegetables. In this example, the word sells is a verb. It expresses the physical activity to sell. Let's have an example of verbs expressing mental action. She considers the job done. The word considers is a verb. It expresses the mental activity to consider. Another example is, I thought the same thing. The word thought is a verb, and it expresses the mental activity to think. Now let's have some examples of verbs expressing a state of being. A small but extremely important group of verbs that do not express any activity at all. They express a state of being. The most important verb in this group, arguably, is the verb to be. And here is the verb to be in different tenses: past tense, present tense, and future tense. And it comes along with different subject. It could be plural or singular. And here is an example with the verb to be. Sarah is beautiful. The word "is" is a verb from the verb to be. And here are some examples of verbs that express a state of being. Alien life almost certainly exists. The word exist is a verb from the verb to exist. Another example, it seemed funny at the time. The word seemed is a verb from the verb to seem. As we've covered, a verb can be categorized as physical verb, mental verb, and state of being verb. However, verb will often be further categorized as the following types of verbs. Here are types of verbs: action verb, stative verb, transitive verb, intransitive verb, auxiliary verb, modal verb, phrasal verb, regular and irregular verb. Action verb. It expresses an activity that a person or thing can do. For example, Jane eats cake. Eating is something Jane can do. Another type of verb is stative verb. It expresses a state rather than an action. A stative verb typically relates to a state of being, a thought, or an emotion. For example, I am at home. She lives in Paris. Another type of verb is transitive verb. It is one that acts on something. It has a direct object. For example, I saw the dog. Here, the direct object is the dog. Another type of verb is intransitive verb. It is one that does not act on something. There is no direct object. For example, the rain fell. My throat hurts. Another type of verb is auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb or a helping verb accompanies a main verb to help express the main verb's tense, mood, or voice. The main auxiliary verbs are to be, to have, and to do, and they appear in the following forms. Examples of auxiliary verbs expressing tense to be: she was waiting for an hour. She is waiting in the hall. She will be waiting outside. In each of these examples, the auxiliary verb to be helps to form the progressive tense, which is the tense used for ongoing actions. Examples of auxiliary verbs expressing tense to have: she had drunk it before we arrived. She has drunk it already. She will have drunk it by then. In each of these examples, the auxiliary verb to have helps to form the perfect tense, which is the tense used for expressing an action's completion. Examples of auxiliary verbs expressing tense to do: I do my laundry on Saturdays. He does nothing all day. We did everything we could to help. I have done my homework. Remember that past participle are accompanied by to have and to be. Another type of verb is modal verb. A modal verb is a type of auxiliary verb used to express ideas such as ability, possibility, permission, and obligation. The modal auxiliary verbs are can, could, may, might, must, ought to, shall, should, will, and would. For example, Jane can eat a lot of pies. Here, the modal verb can helps to express the idea of ability. Another example, Jane might eat that pie before he gets home. Here, the modal verb might helps to express the idea of possibility. Another example is, Jane may eat as many pies as he likes. Here, the modal verb may helps to express the idea of permission. Another example is, Jane should give you some of that pie given you bought it. Here, the modal verb should helps to express the idea of obligation. Another type of verb is phrasal verb. A phrasal verb is a verb made up of more than one word, usually two words. A phrasal verb has a main verb and another word, either a preposition or a particle. The phrasal verb usually has a meaning different to the main verb. For example, a vulgar will often break a window to break in. Here, the phrasal verb break in means to enter illegally, which is different to break. Another example is, if you drop the baton, the team will drop back to last place. Here, the phrasal verb drop back means to fall behind, which is different to drop. Another type of verb is regular and irregular verb. A regular verb is one that forms its simple past tense and its past participle by adding ed or d to the base form of the verb. Note, there are spelling rules to consider too. For example, regular verb love, simple past tense love, past participle has love. An irregular verb is one that does not conform to this ruling. Some verbs form their past tense by changing the whole word. For example, irregular verb tell, simple past tense told, past participle has told. And that is all for the verb. Now let's proceed to the word order and sentence structure. Let's have word order. It refers to the way words are arranged in a sentence. The standard word order in English is subject plus verb plus object or SBO. To determine the proper sequence of words, you need to understand what the subject, verb, and objects are. Subject, typically a noun or pronoun, person, place, or thing. Verb, the action or state of being. Object, the word or group of words influenced by the verb. There are two kinds of object, direct object and indirect object. Direct object receives the action of the sentence, usually a noun or pronoun. Indirect object indicates to whom or for whom the action of the sentence is being done, usually a noun or pronoun. Now let's have the sentence structure. The most common order of different elements of a sentence in English is who, what, where, when, how, and why. A sentence usually begins with who, a subject, and followed by what, a verb. There are some verbs require an object. This is part of what element. Make sure to keep the verb and its object together. Example, verb with direct object. The car hit the tree. The subject there is the car. The verb there is hit, and the object is the tree. The car is who element. Hit the tree is what element. Example of verb with indirect object. An object that comes after a preposition. She gave the present to her mother. The subject is she, the verb is gave. The object is the present, the indirect object is to her mother. The who element here is she, and the what element is gave the present to her mother. After who and what, or the subject plus verb order, we can add the other elements: who, what, where, when, how, and why. Example: Jane called earlier to cancel her appointment. The who element is Jane. The what element is called. The when element is earlier. The why element is to cancel her appointment. Another example is Jane ate breakfast on the bus this morning because she was late. Who element is Jane. What element is ate breakfast? Where? On the bus. When? This morning. And why element? Because she was late. Another elements of a sentence are also called independent clause, dependent clause, subject, verb, object, and prepositional phrase. Independent clause can stand alone as sentence. It contains subject plus verb. It is a complete idea. Example: I like spaghetti. Another one is dependent clause. It is not a complete sentence. It must be attached to the independent clause to become complete. Example: although I like spaghetti. Prepositional phrase begins with a preposition. Example: in, at, for, behind, until, after, of, during, and modifies a word in the sentence. A prepositional phrase answers one of many questions. Here are a few examples: where, when, in what way. Example: I like spaghetti for dinner. He reads many books in the library. There are 4 types of sentence structure: simple sentence structure, compound sentence structure, complex sentence structure, compound complex sentence structure. A simple sentence consists of one independent clause. An independent clause contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. Example: I like coffee. Mary likes tea. A compound sentence is 2 or more independent clauses joined by a conjunction or semicolon. Each of these clauses could form a sentence alone. Independent clause plus coordinating conjunction plus independent clause. Example: I like coffee and Mary likes tea. I like coffee is independent clause and is a coordinating conjunction. Mary likes tea is independent clause as well. A complex sentence consists of independent clause plus a dependent clause. A dependent clause starts with a subordinating conjunction or a relative pronoun and contains a subject and verb but does not express a complete thought. Independent clause plus subordinating conjunction plus dependent clause. Example: we missed our plane because we were late. We missed our plane is independent clause. Subordinating conjunction is because. Dependent clause, because we were late. A compound complex sentence consists of at least 2 independent clauses and 1 or more dependent clauses. Independent clause plus subordinating conjunction plus dependent clause plus coordinating conjunction and plus independent clause. Example: John didn't come because he was ill, so Mary was not happy. John didn't come is the independent clause. Subordinating conjunction is because. He was ill, dependent clause. So Mary was not happy. So is a coordinating conjunction. Mary was not happy is the independent clause. And that is the example of compound complex sentence. And that is all for the lesson verb, word order, and sentence structure. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or you can leave your comment below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now, and see you in the next lesson.